everyone, it's Nicole with Just the Tip Tuesday from Practice and Be. This week we're doing Tittibhasana, which is Firefly pose. So this is a pretty challenging posture. It's an arm balance. So already you know you're going to have some core strength and some shoulder stability and strength as well, okay? So we're going to be broadening our scapula, so we're broadening our shoulder blades to get into this posture. We're going to be pulling up through the core so that we can get our legs up off the ground. And we're also going to be stretching our hamstrings here. So if you already know, like, you have tight hamstrings or the shoulders are really tense and you can't really get that broadening of the shoulder blades like that push away, then you know that maybe you're going to need some accommodations for this pose, okay? This also is a lot of pressure on the wrists. So you might want to stretch out your wrists before, and I'll give us an option of how to give our wrists a little bit of help in this posture too, okay? So if you have two blocks or two block-like objects at home, then I would go ahead and grab those. So I'll show you the full expression of the pose first, and then we'll get into some different modifications, okay? So you have to lift your hips up, your hands come on the ground, okay? So already we're asking a lot of our hamstrings, right? So you're gonna reach underneath you and back behind you. So see that my fingertips are behind my toes or behind my heels? That's what you want. You don't want your hands outside of your feet. You want your hands inside your feet, okay? So you're gonna start to bend your knees, lower down. You're gonna create a little shelf with your triceps to have a seat with your thighs on your triceps. Shift the weight back, maybe scooch those legs forward, and then float the feet. So extending, pressing out through the toes, seeing that broadening of the shoulder blades, drawing up through the low belly. Okay, so that's the full expression of the posture. You can even try to get your hips a little lower and your feet to point up a little higher as well, okay? So if you're like, oh boy, I don't think so, I have some modifications, okay? So say your limitation is your hamstrings, so it's really hard for you to straighten your legs to that degree, then you can try bound ankle pose, okay? So it's the same setup, but this time, as you pick your feet up off the ground, you're gonna start to inch them towards one another, and then you're gonna hook your feet on towards one another, and then pick them up, okay? So you walk your hands back behind you, have a seat, let those palms come down, weight shifts into your palms, back into your butt, and then you heel toe those feet together. See if you can kind of click them together and pick them up off the ground, okay? So still all the same muscle engagement in terms of shoulders and core, but you don't have to work as much for stretching the hamstrings, okay? You can see how gracefully I exit these postures as I grow bigger and bigger. So now the other thing, if you know that your wrists have a hard time coming to that 90-degree bend, like coming down into the ground, a lot of times in yoga classes, like, oh, if you have any wrist pain or limitations of the joint, you might just want to take fists. That would be very challenging in this pose. So another option would be to use the blocks, okay? So the blocks come back behind your heels, okay? Because that's where your hands are gonna go. Fingertips point back behind you. Now your hips or your hands are a little higher, so it's a little bit harder to have a seat. Oops. My fingertips were facing the wrong way. The fingertips face forward, not back behind you, okay? Shift the weight back, have a seat, pick up those legs. Okay, so you could do it that way as well. And since that brings the floor a little higher up towards you, it's a little easier to get your legs up off the ground because you don't have to work as hard to lift those legs. And since the ground is a little higher as well, you don't have to work as hard to lower your wrists, right? Because the ground's already a little bit closer, so it doesn't take as much effort to lower the wrist down. You can also bind your ankles here, okay? So lowering those feet down, picking up, and then doing any wrist stretches that you need to do afterwards. So whether that's bringing the fingertips pointing towards you, palms down, you can switch that. Palms or back of the hands down, fingertips towards you, and just letting that stretch out for a little. So really fun posture to play with. A lot of muscle groups are engaged here and working, but these can be little ways that you can start to help get yourself into it. Don't be surprised if you try to get into it and your butt brings you down. That's pretty common and is most likely going to happen now, not just once, okay? So think about really lifting up through the core. So you're really pushing the ground away and then kind of making that little cat back, if you will, to pull in through the abs, okay? So have fun in class this week practicing. Hopefully I'll see you in class, and I will definitely see you next week. Bye.